Welcome back, boxing fans. So it's amazing to me some of the rhetoric narratives that consistently get pushed on this YouTube boxing platform. People capping for dudes like crazy, pushing narratives that are blatantly fucking hypocritical, moving the goalposts consistently. Like, I see people capping, of course, for fighters that look like them consistently. This is from across the board. And the truth is, if you're a real boxing fan, this shit ain't fucking rocket science. It ain't that fucking complicated to figure it out. There's only about 13, 14 fighters, maybe 15 if you want to be real generous, that could even be considered as top 10 pound for pound fighters in boxing. So as long as you have any mixture of that top 15, you ain't really off base. You're pretty much as consistent as everybody else that's a hardcore boxing fan that actually follows the sport. But some people are kind of push fighters that represent certain platforms, fighters that represent certain countries, pushing fighters that represent certain fucking ethnicities, right? And this is their whole modus operandi for pushing certain fighters into these positions of glory, while at the same time going out of their way to discredit anybody that falls into another category. This shit is clear, evident, and it's fucking been going on for fucking decades now. And now because of YouTube, it's that much more blatant and that much more obvious to anyone watching it. I mean, I do lives every week, and the people that come on capping for certain fighters and then hating on others, this shit's ridiculous because it makes no fucking sense at all. There's no consistency. Someone's going to go out of their way to shit all over Canelo Alvarez and make it sound like he's cherry picking, he ain't doing anything, he ain't fighting competition. Yet, literally, and I just made a video about this, go check it out, but literally in the last 4 years, the fighter who's fought the most champions, had the most fights, and did the most in the sport of boxing has been Canelo Alvarez. You don't have to like him, but you got to be realistic and honest when talking about what he's doing compared to probably the fighter that you're capping all over fucking YouTube for, who's doing far fucking less, right? I literally made this video and I praised Devin Haney in my video because unlike many other young fighters, Devin Haney's done a lot. He stepped up and did exactly what you hope and expect young up-and-coming fighters to do, right? But then you see people come out and say, Devin Haney doesn't get credit for beating this guy and beating that guy. And the hypocrisy in that situation is the guy saying this, or the people that say this kind of bullshit, they're blatantly the worst offenders on YouTube for literally discrediting other fighters. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Like, a guy will make that video hyping up and propping up Devin Haney only to then shit on a bunch of other fighters to help prop Devin Haney up, right? Like, I didn't need to shit on Devin Haney to build up fucking what Inoue and Canelo Alvarez have done over the last 4 years. There was enough praise to go around for everybody. The people that got criticism were people that get a lot of hype and attention, yet really have done far less. And whether that's the fact that they were in jail, whether that's the fact that they were being, basically boycotted and ducked blatantly by a whole promotional company. I mean, all you can do is judge fighters on what they're doing in the sport of boxing. Literally, that's all you can do, right? All these people that are now, and now is the key word to this conversation. All these people that are now heavy with David Benavidez. This dude has done nothing to put himself in position for success. Actually, consistently, he's done the opposite, right? He's consistently done the opposite. Walked away from unification fights, didn't try to work with other promotional teams to have unification fights, literally lost his title twice because of boneheaded, stupid, immature moves that he didn't push the WBC to force a mandatory fight literally just before they were going to do that, walked away and moved up to 175 pounds, all to get some bullshit interim fucking title, right? And now people are thinking that he's gonna fight the winner of Bivol versus Beterbiev. Anybody with any brains knows that ain't gonna fucking happen. Knows that 100% he's gonna be fighting on a Tank Davis undercard against an in-house PBC fighter, and consistently still capping for Canelo Alvarez, right? Yet he's given a pass. He can fight fucking anybody, and nobody cares who he fights. But yet they're so heavily critical of who so many of these other guys in the sport of boxing are fighting. And this is really the thing that exposes most of these haters. Because I wasn't hating David Benavidez now that he was being talked about fighting Hart. Many people were, not me. I said Hart's a very good opponent for him at 175, coming off of the Gvozdyk fight. Sure, Gvozdyk and Hart are not the killers at 175, but for a guy who just moved to the division, they are two very solid opponents. And Hart is obviously a better step-up fight after Gvozdyk. Gvozdyk's a guy coming off of 4 years of retirement. Hart's been active, been in tough fights, never been knocked out in his career. So it's going to be a really, really intriguing matchup between David Benavidez and Hart. But is that a fight that's marketable and sells a lot? Of course it's not. That's why it's going to be on the undercard of Tank Davis's pay-per-view, right? Because they're not trying to make good fights, probably. I mean, I did talk about that PBC card and what some of the speculations were, and if those fights were the fights that actually unfolded, it was going to be one of the best pay-per-views in fucking years. But if you're realistic, you realize that it's probably not going to play out quite that way. Charlo, coming off of a loss to Canelo, is probably not going to step in with a real dangerous opponent. Charlo, who's going through mental health issues at 160, probably ain't going to step in and fight a real tough opponent in his first fight back either. Tank Davis probably ain't going to fight anybody that really people are excited about. And of course, David Benavidez fighting Hart is not the kind of fight that's going to make fans go crazy. But as a whole, you get these fighters in there, staying busy, showcase fights. It's understandable. That's what the PBC and other promotional companies consistently do a lot. So, you know, it wouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But that's the whole point of being a boxing channel. Being able to rationally watch the sport of boxing without this racism, this blatant hate, this blatant hypocrisy, this blatant double standard that unfortunately is like a fine dust that covers the YouTube boxing community, right? And pollutes the sport of boxing on YouTube, because it always becomes some narrative, some fucking bullshit fucking topic of discussion, as opposed to just talking about the fights. This weekend we have one of the biggest heavyweight matchups in boxing, yet you barely see anyone on YouTube even talking about it. Yet somehow these guys consider themselves boxing experts and boxing channels. And yet a heavyweight fighter like AJ fighting Daniel Dubois, two top 10 heavyweights in boxing today, both in their prime, both coming off of several successful fights back to back to back, meeting up now for the IBF World Championship, is a huge fight. And for AJ, potentially it's historical. He can become a 3-time heavyweight champion, joining a great group of people who previously have done that, right? History. For Daniel Dubois, this is an opportunity for him to solidify his name in the sport of boxing. Solidify himself by getting the career best win that he could get, right? And this fight stylistically is a great matchup. Two big punchers, you know, two guys that are a little bit vulnerable, so literally anything can happen, right? This is an exciting fight. The card overall I talked about and said that is mostly a domestic UK fight card. So for British UK boxing fans, they're going to be down with it. They're familiar with all the fighters, and they'll be super excited about this card. For Americans, not so much. But at the same time, AJ and Dubois is a fucking great fight. Like, there's no other way to break this shit down. That is one of the best fights of 2024. Easily could be fight of the year. Potentially super explosive, right? Truly a 50-50 fight. I'm super excited about it. I'm happy it's this weekend. I mean, this is just what boxing has given us in 2023 and 2024. Literally, these past 2 years back to back have been fucking incredible. Obviously, last year the PBC put out tons of great cards, worked with other promoters to make some really big fights, and then this year, of course, with the help of Saudi Arabia, DAZN has been killing it. And throughout these 2 years, ESPN has just consistently been doing what they do, which is just consistently putting out good card after good card after good card, all without pay-per-view for the most part. So as a boxing fan, I mean, I don't know why you'd be negative, overly critical, hateful, or just not really excited about what's going on in the sport of boxing. I mean, even after this Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua fight, you have then Bivol versus Beterbiev, the undisputed light heavyweight fight, a fight people have been asking for probably 3 years right now, and now it's here finally, and it's a great fight as well. You know, obviously I'm hoping that Beterbiev wins, but at 40 years old, you never know what he has left in the gas tank. For Bivol, obviously this would be just another incredible win on his resume. Obviously, wins over Canelo and Zurdo are great wins. You get a win over Beterbiev and become undisputed, and it's a true legacy fight. Right at this point, he is definitively one of the top 5 pound for pound fighters in boxing. Not a guy that I favor or support, because stylistically I prefer Beterbiev. But you have to appreciate skill and appreciate talent when it's in front of you, regardless of it being what you prefer or not, right? You know, and then we still have Usyk and Fury later on this year. We still have that great doubleheader card from Japan, which is going to be fucking great. Literally, it's one day and then the second day, so it's a doubleheader, a Friday, Saturday card, or a Sunday, Monday card. I can't remember specifically of what day it is. It's Japan, so it's probably Sunday, Monday. But great card. Junto Nakatani, Inui's brother, headlining both cards. You know, fantastic. And then, of course, you have Tank Davis's potential card, end of November, sometime in December. Not sure exactly who's going to be on it, but we're still excited to see who is going to be on it and who Tank Davis is going to fight next. As a boxing fan, shouldn't this be what we're talking about more? The sport of boxing. But unfortunately, you know, what most of these YouTube channels are riddled with is racist narratives, right? Literally, consistently. This is the same topic they beat over the head day in and day out, only using 5 fighters as examples that they consistently talk about, focusing primarily on American fighters, ignoring boxing as a global sport completely, right? You know, it boggles the mind, truthfully, some of the fucking stupid takes that we consistently are hearing, right? If you're a Devin Haney fan, great. You're not supporting someone that's a punk, ducking everybody, not trying to make great fights. So, you know, there's nobody hating on you for supporting Devin Haney. The irony is, though, the people that support Devin Haney, for some reason, feel that they can dictate who everybody else supports and who everybody else should like and should get behind, right? This is the biggest problem we find in boxing, is that people are not comfortable enough supporting who they want. They feel they need to nitpick and fucking, you know, force everybody else's opinion. Because this is you like, and this is what you think. All of a sudden, everybody else has to follow suit, or else get labeled. Because, you know, now in this whole woke fucking culture that we live in, labels are huge. I mean, just imagine the anti-Semitic label that's going around all over the world now because of the whole Israel-Palestine thing. For me, I don't fucking even care. This shit's so old, it's nothing new. Israel's been taking advantage of Palestine for fucking decades now. So this is nothing new at all. And if you want to address it, you're labeled an anti-Semite just to shut you up to stop fucking people pointing out the truth, right? And this isn't anything against Israel or the people of Israel. It just talks about fair treatment to others. That's all. The people that point out this kind of stuff are just trying to show that maybe treating others fairly would probably be the better thing to do, right? And this is the same with boxing. You don't have to be a fan of Canelo Alvarez, but I guarantee you 100% Canelo's resume is way better than the fighter you like. And he's probably doing more in the last 4 years than the fighter you support. No, probably. Guaranteed. You might not like Lomachenko, but I guarantee you what Lomachenko's done in his career is just as good, if not better, than the majority of fighters you support. Right? Nobody you support is a 2-time gold medalist, a 3-weight world champion, 3-belt unified. Nobody. I guarantee it. You know, you might not like Inoue for whatever reason, but yet Inoue, it can't be understated, is one of the most exciting fighters in boxing today. Tank Davis, Beterbiev, the Monster. You know, there's a small group of guys that are super exciting to watch every time they step in the ring, because you know you're probably going to get an exciting knockout, right? And whether they look like you, support the country you come from, support the narrative you're pushing, that's irrelevant, right? Literally irrelevant. I watch sports from around the world. I watch sports with people from around the world. I watch sports that people in America watch. I watch sports that people in the UK watch. I watch sports that people in South Africa watch, and Australia and New Zealand. And never, ever do I hear this same old bullshit that I consistently hear when it comes to boxing from Americans. From Americans. 100% from Americans. You don't hear this bullshit from anybody else around the world. Only from Americans. Right? You can watch English Premier League football. Don't hear this shit berated, constantly fucking beaten down your throat. You can watch rugby from South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, wherever. You also don't hear this. People support sports. Only with boxing do we consistently have this cesspool of so-called YouTubers that basically are trying to exploit this sport just to fill their pockets up with racially motivated money. It's sickening, disgusting, right? To speak the truth. But, you know, unfortunately, who can expect this to change? You can't, right? No matter what boxing is giving you, how great it is, there's still going to be these people pushing the same bullshit narratives day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Guaranteed. But leave your opinions and comments in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. We'll be talking, of course, more about the fights this weekend. We will be going live this Sunday my time, Saturday night your time, for the big fight. Of course, the big problem with the AJ Dubois fight is that it's super fucking early in the morning for me. So I'm probably only going to be waking up to watch that fight, probably not to watch the rest of the undercard. So if you hope to hear about the undercard from me, you're probably better off to focus more on somebody from the UK. But I'll see you later this week. Enjoy your week. Peace out.